criticize Grandma at all.
Right.
I agree that Grandma needed to, and she had lived many years in compromise of her values and her beliefs because
of her respect
and for him.
No, that part of the story needed to be told too.
Yeah, that's what, but I feel like part of the, part of the tribute that I want to give is to Mom, because how many of us would have continued to send pictures and to write letters every week
nothing back,
with nothing in return, and yet Grandma's a good woman, Mom's a good woman, and I can't talk about either one of them without getting teary and crying.
But you did that about Stubby too.
You know what? I think I have a tape recorder of talking about things, and Joanna's crying.
I cry about everything, you guys.
So what did you want to say, honey?
Well, I don't know if the kids had heard or not, but it's time to tell them my introduction to Norman Paul. First of all, when we wanted to get married, she had gone home for Christmas, and this was kind of interesting. She wasn't supposed to go home. She was at BYU, and she had to go home to tell her mother. Well, her mother were thinking all kinds of things, Oh my goodness, what kind of trouble is she going to do? Whatever. Meanwhile, I'm rehearsing with my roommates all of the possible arguments that Norman Paul could come up with. And I had those things cold. It was like a court case. They'd ask us and I did it. So she went home and I made the appointed phone call. And I asked a question. And he says, "Don't you think it's a little soon?" And it hit me. No one had not rehearsed that question. It was off the wall. So anyway, we made it through that phone call, and he said no. And I said, "Okay, well, I'll wait a while."
No.
And he said, "Well, I'm not." He said, "I'm probably going to say no then too." And so I said, "Well, that's okay. I'll wait a little while." So I waited till Valentine's Day to get engaged, and we just had to take the position that we were going to get married. We'd love to get married with your blessing, but we're going to get married. Is what it amounted to. So I'd never met the guy in person, never. And we thought it was appropriate that I at least ought to meet the family before I go. So when school let out at BYU, we took a trip to Florida, and that's a whole nother chapter. We won't talk about that, especially in this tape. But when we pulled in, I think it was West Palm Beach where you met us or something. I walked in and I introduced myself. "Hi, I'm Ron. Glad to be here." And he said, "Well, number one, you're from the West. Number two, you're a Mormon. Number three, you're a returned missionary. As far as I'm concerned, that's 3 strikes and you're out." And that was our introduction.
And I had begged him beforehand, please give him a chance.
Be nice. Didn't he take you to a bar?
Sailing. No, then you sailing.
Or that was not that visit. That was another visit.
No, that was that visit.
That was that visit.
And I couldn't go in because I was 19. What was the drinking age?
Oh, yeah, but wow. He had this beautiful, what they call her, the Maikai girl or something?
The Maikai girl.
Oh dear.
And he had worked with her, and I walked in the door, and she came up, put this big old lei around my neck, said, "Oh, Ron, it's so nice to see you. We had such a good time in Miami Beach." I'm tempted to tell the sailing story, but I think everybody's heard it. All the grandchildren heard the sailing story?
I don't know if their ears can have the same handle.
Oh, the sailing stories.
That's-
Oh,
The sailing story.
I just thought there was a lot of swearing involved.
Dad wouldn't share that part.
Leak out the
And what is swearing involved?
Oh, good. Okay.
Alright, so you gotta hear the sailing story. As everybody said, Grandpa Norman was a great sailor. He what? He knew the ocean, he knew the boats, he knew the fish. He lived to be on the water. And he owned this sailing boat. They called it the Nanimaku Schnellmachen.
There's still nothing, none in the coast.
Well, when
Big, fast, beautiful.
oh, fast, beautiful. Well, it was a racing sloop. It was a racing boat,
Yes.
about 20 foot
And my dad built it.
sailboat. He built it. It was a beautiful boat.
He made the mast, he made the sail.
But it takes two guys to run it. And here I am, this guy from Idaho. I'd never even seen a sailboat. Didn't know what they did. Didn't know how to run it. And so the first day I'm there, Grandpa Norman says, "I don't think you're man enough to marry my daughter. I'm going to see if you can do it. I'm going to see if you're a man. We're going to go sailing. And I'm going to see how you can sail. And if you can pass that test, then I'll consider letting you pass, marry Connie." I was just totally panicked. Norman was a great guy. He was an intimidating guy, you know. So every day when he'd go to work, I found a little book in his house. We still have it somewhere, called Sailing Made Easy.
He looks on the shelf.
And I'd go stand in the sailboat. I'd go stand in the sailboat, and Connie would ask what the parts are and what they did. So I'm going around. So Saturday comes, and we went out sailing, and we took maybe a half hour where everybody was sailing, and then he kind of grinned. He said, "Okay, this is time for the test." Took everybody back to shore, let them off except me. He said, "Okay, we're going to put this baby in its full racing condition." And we did things with that sailboat, and he purposely would have a boom that swings back and forth a lot. And so I was constantly ducking the boom and doing stuff.
Knock you off in the ocean.
And when you get going too fast, the sailboat
Goes on the side.
gets on its side, you know, it's really down there. And we said, "We're going to capsize, we got to do some hiking." I said, "Hiking? What's hiking?" I'd never heard what hiking was. That wasn't in the Sailing Made Easy book. So he gives me this little harness, and he hooks the harness up to the top of the sail and puts me in this harness. He says, "Okay, your job is to get out of the boat and to put your feet on the side and to counterweight the thing so that
So
the
you
boat
lean
goes."
out, right?
So I'm sitting there holding onto this cable with the ocean rushing by at about 25 knots. And nothing between me and them except my 2 feet against the boat. And I thought I was going to die. I'd never been so terrified. But finally then he said, "Okay, you passed the test." So we went back into the to the shore, and we put the boat on the boat rack there, the trailer. And the very minute that we had it on the trailer, I got struck with a migraine headache like I'd never had before or after in my entire life. And I spent the next 3 days in bed.
You passed
But I passed the test. That was Grandpa Norman.
Off all the way.
Is there a wall switch that's off?
How come it's not working?
No, there's no
It's
wall
just
switch.
really.
It doesn't work. It hasn't worked.
Got a
since
short
we moved
one.
in. It only has one Jim.
It looks like we're going to have to do
I think I got rid of that Steve.
something.